started to say just welcome to everybody, and then to remind you we're going to do the Buddha Sadhana after meditation this morning. So that goes from 11:30 to noon. You're welcome to stay or not as you wish. I do invite you to stay, though. I encourage you to stay. It's a really beautiful sadhana. Um, if you want to download it, there's links below for all of that. But don't worry about it right now because I'll share the screen of it with you. So um, you can follow along. I love this sadhana very much. I've been doing it for since 1990, so however many years that is, 35. Um, so quite a long time, and I never really tire of it. I love the English, I love the tune and the Tibetan. I just think it's really quite sweet. And I long for the time that we can practice together in person because to hear a lot of people do it together is it's just so nice. Anyway, so um, let's begin by just settling in first. So you just want to get the mind and body together in the same place. Kunsanda samgarab shiri sam pamakarajibani shrima soso nagnatananga saso katarman suwade. Omi chaginki pojane to sum sange thinking on it and some sugar no soon to say so in a meshava so hard. So we begin with our bodhicitta motivation. Bodhicitta is a Sanskrit word, and bodhi means awakened or enlightened, and citta means the mind and heart together. So this bodhicitta means the wish to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. Okay. So everything we do on this path is meant to be for that reason. So if we didn't come here with that reason, which I'm guessing most of us did, that's totally fine. We just adjust motivation to include all beings. So we consider the suffering of beings, humans, animals, and other beings in cyclic existence, which inspires compassion in us. And then we merge that with wisdom, which understands that the way to get rid of suffering is to get rid of the cause of suffering. And so um, becoming enlightened is getting rid of that cause, which is fundamental ignorance. So if we do that for ourselves, then we're much more like infinitely more capable of helping others to do the same. So if that's a little much for you, that's totally understandable. But just make the wish that may the time we spend together this morning benefit not only ourselves, but others as well. Okay, so Tess posted a question this morning, which is there's a psychology scale called daily hassles. I wonder if you could speak to how to navigate daily hassles while also trying to navigate a more aware viewpoint. So it's a good question. It's essentially, in a way, how to practice in the midst of daily life, right? So if you saw kind of what, if you were here from the beginning and you saw kind of like, oh, I have to adjust my thing, and oh, I forgot to plug in my computer and this kind of thing. As someone with um, ADHD, this is the constant for me in my life of time management, of organization, of daily frustrations, and so forth. Okay. So using the word hassle makes me think like we're just talking about smaller, less, kind of inconsequential things like getting stuck in traffic or, you know, dealing with a coworker you find a little bit annoying. We're not talking here about big things like, hatred and jealousy and um, mm, grief and all the other things that we deal with in our day-to-day life. However, if we can learn to handle these smaller things in our life, the smaller disappointments, the smaller frustrations, the smaller ways of essentially not getting what we want, then we once we become proficient in those things, hey Melina, hey, we will be able to um, much more easily deal with the bigger things. Okay. So it's not trivial to try to work with these smaller kind of frustrations and hassles in our life. Okay. So it's always the challenge to merge our formal practice with what's called post meditation or jetop in Tibetan, which is just all the other times when we're not in formal meditation. Okay. Um, so uh, the deeper our view becomes, our basic view, the and the clearer it becomes, the easier it will be to merge those things, our formal practice or our study, because it's easy to read, about um, dealing with anger or impermanence or something like that. But it's much more difficult to actually integrate those teachings into our daily life. So um, I think the most simple and sort of fundamental thing is mindfulness. Okay. And unfortunately, there's kind of this, I don't know, it's not that unfortunate, I think, but there's a lot, this word mindfulness is thrown around a lot in our culture, in America anyway, these days. Um, and sometimes Buddhist practitioners call that mindfulness, kind of fast food mindfulness, right? Without the deeper connotations, without the actual purpose of practicing mindfulness in the first place, right? um so when we talk about mindfulness from the Buddhist standpoint, um we're talking about watching the mind, being aware of what's happening in the mind, and that skill is greatly benefited and improved through meditation. Okay, we can kind of work on it without ever having meditated, like it's not impossible, but the progress will be a lot slower than if we actually uh, meditate. So when we're sitting in meditation, we're doing something as simple as mindfulness of breathing practice. Yeah. We're just focusing on the breath. We're trying to maintain that continuous, unbroken awareness of the sensation of the breath coming in and out of the nose. Okay. And we're maintaining the meditation posture, and we are letting the thoughts come and go. Okay. So that seems like, I mean, that's the instruction. Like, it's not complicated, but that doesn't mean that it's easy. Yeah. Just because it's not complicated. Um, in that process of trying to maintain the focus on the breath and letting the thoughts arise and dwell and disappear without running after them, in that process, we start to become much better at knowing what's actually happening in our mind. Yeah. Normally, we're kind of going through life in this sort of zombified state. Yeah. Of not really, not really being aware very much. We're kind of, in a way, sort of half asleep. And we're just letting all of our thoughts and emotions just lead us by the nose. Yeah. And without even thinking about it. But when we begin to meditate, we start to realize that those thoughts and emotions are not us, that they actually don't have any power, that they are ephemeral, impermanent, insubstantial, that we don't need to take them seriously, we don't need to believe them, we don't need to follow them, okay? Which is like we've spent our whole life doing that until now. Anger arises and we lash out. Jealousy arises and we, become bitter. Greed arises and we take something. It's sort of like there's like no kind of filter, right, between whatever thoughts and emotions arises and then our actions. So once we start to meditate, we start to see like we don't have to be that way, right? Um, we can be independent. We can have power over our own life, over our own mind. We can make choices about how we behave, what we say, even what we think, rather than just being enslaved by our thoughts and emotions. Okay. So there's a tremendous amount of freedom that comes through the practice of meditation. So through meditating and being able to cultivate this awareness, not just of what's happening in our own mind, but also kind of what's happening around us, um, then we're we become like it becomes easier and faster to notice where our mind is at during the day, during like when we're not meditating, during post meditation. Okay. So, for example, you know, this thing that I just described of like coming here and sort of not being set up and that if, forgetting I had to plug in my computer and all that kind of stuff. There's a choice how I react to that. Okay. Just taking that as a hassle, that was a hassle for me, right? Um, I can react with anger. I can react with humor. I can react with self disparagement. I can react with frustration. I can react blaming somebody else. I don't know. You know, ADHD is like very genetically, has a large genetic component. Maybe I could have blamed my parents. You know, why? One of them had to have it, right? Or I could just take it very lightly and just like, oh, well, things happen. It's like that. No, it's not a big deal. And go on with my life, right? Without meditation, maybe I have developed a habit of always reacting with anger to those things, right? Then this flash of anger arises. Okay. With meditation, then I start to see like, no, I don't have to react like that. It's not necessary to react like that. It doesn't change anything. And then over time, through practice and all of that, then I can take something of small frustration like that with ease and just feel like, not a big deal. Who cares? You know? Okay. So if I can do that, or I can, um, let's say, take something that's a little bit higher on this, a little more weighty, let's say, of sorry, of like a work colleague who's, not someone that we hate, not big deal, not somebody that we, is going to fire us if we say the wrong thing or whatever, but just maybe like a colleague who, I don't know, brings a stinky lunch, every day or too often or whatever, and we hate that, you know. Um, it's just another way of dealing with that rather than letting that grow into hatred of the person. We can more easily let it go, or we can find a way to handle it, or we can go eat somewhere else during lunch, another part of the office, or go out, or we can talk to that person, depending, right? There are other things that we can do. And so we can't really separate like meditation, or if we want to, how can I say, like the practice of meditation and our day-to-day life should be inextricably entwined. Okay. Otherwise, what happens is we leave the practice on the cushion and we leave the learning in the books, and we're not really absorbing anything. Tibetans call that dancing on the books. Yeah. So you're just kind of sort of have some connection, but nothing's being absorbed. Yeah. So if we're talking about the day-to-day hassles, there's so many different ways that we can deal with that, but all of those ways start with awareness itself or mindfulness. Yeah. What's happening in my mind? What's happening in the situation? How am I dealing with it right now? Do I want to deal with this differently? Okay. So we have to understand in this context too that there are multiple ways of dealing with any situation, and we have a tendency to not we have a tendency to think that our way is the way, the only way, or the best way, and not even think that like there might be another way. And that's not necessarily ego based or anything like that. It's just kind of habitual, right? So I'll give you an example of like from when I was a kid, little kid, and my dad had a very bad temper, okay, and was, often really angry and explosive. And I just thought that's how parents were, right? And one day I was at my aunt's house. We spent a lot of time there with my aunt, my cousin, or sometime anyway. And my cousin knocked a glass of milk off the table. We were having dinner, and my cousin knocked a glass of milk. And I cringed like this because I was expecting my aunt to fly into a rage like my dad would have in that situation. And she just started laughing. And my mind was blown. You know, I was like, what? You can react like that? It didn't occur to me that there was another way to react to something. She just laughed and she got up, and the kid got up and they cleaned it up together, and that was it, and life went on. It didn't become a huge deal, right? So that's what I mean. Like we can think about another way of reacting to things, and it can be very freeing, but we can't do that if we don't know what's happening, right? We can't work with our day-to-day life, our day-to-day frustrations, our day-to-day tragedies without awareness. That's why meditation is so fundamental. It's so important. Yeah. And what are we doing in this meditation? It seems like we're not doing anything much, right? Just maintaining this posture. And the posture is important because because of the mind-body connection, right? So because the mind and body are connected, how we hold our body affects our mind. What we do with our body affects our mind. What we do with our mind affects our body. Okay. So meditation posture is designed to support the mind in meditation. Okay. Um, so pardon me. Um, where was I going with that? Right, right. So we're holding the posture, okay, as I said, and we're just using the breath. There's nothing particularly special about the breath, except that as long as we're alive, we have the breath with us, so we don't have to go and try to find some kind of prop. It's the breath, it's there. We can use anything as focus of our meditation. In fact, if you read Yongey Mingyur Rinpoche, Mingyur, Mingyur. Here, I'll put it in the chat in case somebody doesn't know. Yongey. Whoops. But most people just call him Mingyur Rinpoche. Yongey Mingyur Rinpoche. He has a lot of books. One of them is Joyful Wisdom. I think that's the book where he mentions a lot of different ways of practicing using other things besides the breath. So we can do like mindfulness of breathing, right? Of course, we can do mindfulness of sound, which is one of my favorites. We can do mindfulness of sight. So you, instead of using your breath, you can use a pen or a Buddha statue or whatever that you put in front of you, and you use that as your focus. Okay. So it doesn't have to be the breath, but usually it's the breath. So what we notice when we do that is that we're not able at this point, usually, to have this continuous awareness of the sensation of the breath coming in and out of the nose. Yeah. We're going to get distracted. Okay. And what distracts us is the thought that arises. Okay. So let's say that we're sitting and we're trying to focus on the breath, and a thought arises of it's late August. It's August 23rd now. Right? Oh, it's late August. What we want to do is just let that thought go and continue to focus on the breath. But what we might do, out of habit, is to run after that thought. Oh, it's late August. Oh, soon it's going to be next week. It's going to be September already. And I remember when I started school in the fifth grade, and this thing happened, and that thing happened, and my sister said this, and now she's like that, and we just, right? But at some point, especially with time of, trying to do this practice many times, we'll realize, oh, I just got totally distracted. And we bring our mind, our awareness back to that sensation of the breath. Okay. So that seems like so basic, but it's really very profound, because what we're doing in this practice is learning how to recognize them when we are aware, or the mind, let's say, in a state of awareness, and recognizing when we are distracted, which like normally we don't recognize when we're distracted, and being able to bring the mind back to a state of from distraction to awareness. Okay. That's amazing. That is amazing. Okay. And the more we practice that, the more we become proficient in that, the easier it will be to do that in our regular life, to see when irritation is arising. When we use the word hassle, right? That's has a connotation of irritation, right? This is a hassle. I'm irritated. Okay. So if we don't recognize irritation, irritation is the seed of anger. You know, rage doesn't begin with rage. We might feel that way because we're not paying attention to what's happening. We're not aware of what's happening in the mind. So suddenly we're flying into a rage. It feels sudden, but it's not sudden. Okay. It's really gradual. It starts with irritation. This is a perfect example of what I said at the beginning. If we learn to deal with these smaller things, it's going to be immeasurably helpful for dealing with the larger things. So if we can learn to recognize right away, oh, I'm starting to get irritated. We feel that little clenching of the heart, not another part, just the heart. Okay. So we feel this little, you know, right? That's the beginning of irritation. And if we can nip it in the bud right there, then it's not going to grow into rage, because we've gotten it when it was small and easy to handle. Once we're in a rage, we're in a rage. It's done. Like there's not much we can do. We just get it out and then feel remorseful after. And then, you know, sometimes we might say to ourselves, like, I don't like being like that. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to do that anymore. Right. And then we have more motivation to practice and try to generate patience for ourselves and all of our craptastic habits. Right. So we start to feel, ugh, I don't like this. I don't like being caught in traffic. I don't like the smell of my colleague's lunch. I don't like that I am, I have such a such a hard time with time. I don't like, you know, whatever. I don't like the weather. I don't like this, my neighbor's dog barking all the time. All these small things, yeah. We can um, uh, we can see that irritation and we can relax, be like, it's okay, it's okay. It's okay. I forgot to plug in my computer. It's okay. This smell of my, it's making me sick thinking about this. I wish I'd used a different example, but here we are. Um, I keep thinking like tuna fish sandwich is just blah, but you know, the smell is temporary. I can I can get over it, or I can solve this issue in another way. I don't need to get so worked up about something so small. I can let it go. I can let it go, let it go. And one of the really helpful ways of doing this too is to give things a lot of space. Because if we notice, like when we're irritated, there's a almost like a claustrophobic feeling. We feel like we're in a tight space, and that tends to, you know, like a volcano sort of, it tends to like increase the irritation, this feeling of being caught, stuck in a small space, claustrophobic. If we can just kind of breathe some space into that, you know, just give it space. You can even visualize just, I don't know, be creative, to think of your irritation as a little, I don't know, little bug, let's say. Just put that bug in a field, let it have a lot of space. Then you know, you can breathe and it becomes so much easier to handle. And as I said, once we get used to doing this kind of thing, dealing with the bigger stuff becomes easier in a few ways. First of all, like we don't get, how can I say, we don't, we have fewer instances of the bigger stuff because we have developed the capacity for dealing with it when it's small, right? Letting it go when it's small and easy to let go of and easy to give space to and so forth. Okay. So we have less of those bigger instances. And also we develop an awareness through this constant practice, through the smaller things, we develop this awareness of the mind and of others and actually of compassion also, okay, for ourselves and for others. And then those bigger things become easier to deal with. Yeah, Shantideva says that in his book, The Way of the Bodhisattva, where he talks about through practicing with many small things, it becomes, I can deal with the big things easier. But he says it very beautifully, not like I just did. But um, yeah, think, and I say this often because it's really important and it depends on your personality type, it depends on your culture a little bit. Like in American culture, we have a very much of a no pain, no gain kind of mindset, right? So we have a tendency to expect a lot of ourselves and to expect a lot of others and to be harsh with ourselves and push a lot and this kind of thing, okay? Um, but the path, the teachings, the Buddha is very, very gentle, actually. Yeah. And we do and are happy with small victories. Yeah. And it's gradually we make move to bigger, bigger and bigger. But we don't expect ourselves to just jump to the end in one fell swoop. Yeah. So one of my favorite stories of the Buddha was this king who lived at the time of the Buddha, and he was very, very, very wealthy, and he wanted to be generous, but he didn't feel generous, right? And he felt bad about that. He wanted to, but he just couldn't, you know? So he goes to the Buddha and he says, you know, can you help me? This is the situation. He explains. And we might think at first glance that the Buddha would have said to him, you know, oh, you're really bad. I can't believe you can't just share. Look at all the wealth that you have. What's wrong with you? Just open up your store of treasures and let all the villagers walk through and take what they want. Yet we talk to ourselves like that sometimes, right? But no, that's not what the Buddha did at all. He said, oh, okay, I understand. You know, I understand. So I want you to begin practicing generosity, but just start with something you don't care about, like this jar lid, okay? And just pass it from your right hand to your left hand. That's where he started. And then pass it from your left hand to your right hand. And when you get used to that, pick something that you care a little bit more about. These are my AirPods, yeah? And do the same thing, okay? And then take that thing that you don't care about very much and give it to someone that you love very much. Okay. That's how we started, little by little, by little, by little, very gradually, very gentle. So when we do anything where we're trying to change, we're trying to develop a skill, we're trying to do our practice or whatever, we have to keep that in mind. Yeah. When we meditate, sometimes people, especially at the beginning, right, when they first learn and they're just like new to everything, they become very enthusiastic. Yeah. And they're just like, I'm gonna sit for 2 hours every day, nonstop, you know, without ever really having a foundation. And then they try, and of course they fail. Of course they fail. Yeah. And then they become discouraged and they're just like, oh, I'm really bad at this. I'm not going to do this anymore. This sucks. I think you have to be Asian or something to do this, you know? No, no. The teachers say you should start meditating for a ridiculously short period of time, like 3 minutes, super short. Yeah, that's how you should start. And then gradually increase the time of your meditation. Not why? Why? A few reasons. One, your mind is fresh. Yeah. Two, you haven't developed this resentment for the practice because you've made it too difficult for yourself, right? We should have a sense of joy in practice. We get to practice, not we have to practice. Yeah. So by doing these various skillful means of keeping the practice short, you know, Zongzak Khyentse Rinpoche says you should always want to continue. He says, get off the cushion before you get sick of it. Yeah. You should get off the cushion when like you still want to continue practicing, because that's going to like draw you to the next practice. That's going to leave you with a sense of joy and, you know, a sense that the practice is a pleasant thing. If we push ourselves too hard, if we expect of ourselves more than we can actually do, then we start to hate the practice and we start to resent the whole thing. Yeah. So it's not like it's not like we're babying ourselves, you know, or we're being self-indulgent by saying, well, I'm just a beginner, so I'm going to start with 5 minutes or whatever. We might feel like, oh, you know, I'm just being a baby. No, no, that's the skillful way. That is what's going to help you progress. Do you see what I mean? Okay. All right. You're welcome, Tess. I hope that was helpful. Okay, so now we're going to do some meditation. Speaking of meditation, just want to see how many people. Cool. All right, so we're going to start with meditation, and I've already explained to you kind of how to do it. So I will just explain the posture now. So if you're sitting on a chair, you just want your feet flat on the floor. If you are a smaller person, you can put like a cushion or something under your feet so they're not hanging off the chair. You're sitting on your bed or on the floor. Just cross your legs in whatever way is comfortable for you. And your hands should be either palms down on your legs or palms up like that, resting on top of each other in your lap, or with your fingers on top of each other and your thumbs like that, whatever way you prefer. Okay. Arms are relaxed, so you're not holding them in, you're not squeezing your body, just relax. The spine is straight. This is actually the most important thing in meditation, that your spine is straight, which means the back of your neck is also straight. So you're going to tuck in your chin a little bit. Mouth is closed but relaxed. Tongue resting on the roof of the mouth. Okay. Shoulders should be back a little bit. So you can roll your shoulders back. You'll see right away it kind of opens up your chest. Breathing through the nose. Eyes should be open, ideally. Looking down in front of you a few feet. Just a relaxed, lowered gaze. That's the posture. So bring your awareness to the sensation of the breath coming in and out of the nose. So you're kind of focusing at the end of the nose as the breath. Take a moment to notice that sensation. Okay. As the focus of your concentration. Then we're not going to stop thinking, okay? We're not trying to push away the thoughts, stop them, or block them in any way. We're just not following after them. A thought will arise, dwell, and disappear on its own, to be followed by another thought that arises, dwells, and disappears like that. Just let that happen while maintaining awareness of the sensation of the breath. When you find yourself distracted by running after one of these thoughts, as soon as you realize that, be very relaxed about it. Be very chill. Just like, oh, okay, I got distracted. Bring the mind back to the breath. Okay. So let's begin that now. Now you can begin to count the breaths, counting either every in breath or every out breath for a total of 10 complete breaths. Counting helps us to realize more quickly if we've gotten distracted because we'll have lost count, right? So if you do lose count, it's not a big deal. Just bring the mind back and start again at 1. If you get to 10 without losing count, don't let that distract you. Bring the mind back, start again at 1. If you are feeling very speedy, you can close your eyes, make your body a little bit warmer, put your hands, palms down on your legs. This will help you to kind of calm down. So on the other hand, you're feeling very dull, then you want to look up or look into the sky or at a light and make your body cooler. and put your hands in this position. This will kind of raise your um, concentration. So you have to kind of observe where you're at. You might not need either one of those tools, but if you do, please take advantage of that. So we're counting the breaths now. Please begin now. Bring your mind back to the breath. Like your posture. Okay, so we'll end the meditation now. So I'm going to take a little break, just a minute or two before we start the sadhana. So if you want to get your text or you want to follow the link in the description and download the text, then it would be the time to do so. Otherwise, I'll be sharing it, but I don't know what's happening with my voice today. Anyway, I'll be back in just a minute. I'm so glad I kept the chat open. Thanks, Liz. All right, can you hear me now? I hope so. Let me know, everybody, if you can hear me now. Tell me, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Anybody, please put in the chat if you can hear me. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Liz. All right. So as I was saying, we do this sadhana both in English and Tibetan. I will guide you through it. We also read all the small print, so you can follow along with your own text or by looking at the screen as you wish. Okay. Namo Guru Shakyamuneye. In the Samadhi Raja Sutra, it is said, for all who, while walking, sitting, standing, or sleeping, think of the moon-like Buddha, the Buddha is always in front of them, and they will attain the vast nirvana. And his pure body is the color of gold, utterly beautiful in every way, is the protector of the world. Visualize him like this is to meditate like the bodhisattvas. Accordingly, one should do the practice of remembering our teacher, the incomparable Buddha Shakyamuni. It is as follows. Begin by saying the prayers of refuge and bodhicitta and of the four boundless meditations. So here, we say this once in English, twice in Tibetan. In the jewels of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, we take refuge until we attain enlightenment. By the merit of practicing generosity and the like, may we attain Buddhahood for the benefit of beings. Sangye Chedon Soki Chonam La Chanchu Padu Dani Kyapsu Chi Nagi Jiso Ki Pe Sunam Ki Drula Penche Sangye Drupa Sho Sangye Chedon Soki Chonam La Chanchu Padu Dani Kyapsu Chi Nagi Jiso Ki Pe Sunam Ki Drula Penche Sangye Drupa Sho. Next part we do also once in English. May all beings the cause of happiness. May they come to be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never separate from the happiness which is without suffering. May they come to rest in the boundless equanimity which is free from both attachment to loved ones and hatred for others. Sunchen tamshe dewa dan dewe gyudan denpa kyushin. Dunga dan dunga ki gyudan dewa gyushin. Dunga me pe dewa denpa dan midra wa gyushin. Nidin chadan nidan tawe tan yon se me hala nempa kyushin. Samshan tamshe dewa dan dewe gyudan denpa kyushin. Dunga dan dunga ki gyudan dewa gyushin. Dunga me pe dewa denpa dan midra wa gyushin. Nidin chadan nidan tawe tan yon se me halan and by kyushin. The nature of all things is that though they appear, they have no real existence. Reflect on this, and from that state, visualize the Buddha as follows. So this part we say once in English and once in Tibetan. As a magical display, the inborn emptiness and the interdependent origination, visualized in front of one in the sky, infinite clouds of offerings, in the middle of which, upon a jewel-lined throne, lotus, sun, and moon, is the incomparable teacher, the line of the Shakyas, the color of gold, endowed with the major and minor marks, wearing the three Dharma robes and seated in Vajra posture. His right hand is stretched out in the gesture of touching the earth. His left hand, in the mudra of equanimity, holds an alms bowl filled with nectar. He shines in splendor and majesty like a golden mountain, his wisdom filling space with the plexus of rays of light. He is surrounded by infinite retinues, hosts of exalted beings, the 8 closed suns, the 16 Shtaviras, and others. On those who so much as think of him, he bestows complete liberation from the two extremes of samsara and nirvana, the glory of supreme bliss. Visualize him as the great being who embodies all the objects of refuge. And we go back for the Tibetan. I came trong ban ni dan chen chu gi na wa ga pe su chu kyu me su ran du nang ga che jing kan su chen sen tri 陪你到未来，真把尊美傻要献给你，三给周成，三当配谁人？这个순서 도 지키죠 수자의 산 자연의 견신 자연연 샤트지누세 나세기리다 시지펜방 예시의세트라위카이 자기위세계 내텐추주손 아솔향 기용과 신전바상기 스시타니레 남조대왕 수기pen수 왕캬근드베 Dani Chen Bosan. Hang on a minute. So, okay, I can hear now. Good, okay. I'm sorry about the sound issues. My connection is it's not stable like some other people I know. Okay. So now I go here again. If one visualizes the Buddha like this and thinks that he is actually there, then the moment one does so, wherever one visualizes him there, he will truly be. Since the wisdom of the Buddhas is not subject in any way to limits of space or time, for it is said in the sutras, for all who think of the Buddha, he dwells there in front of them, he continually blesses them and frees them from all evil. The merit accumulated through visualizing the Buddha is an inexhaustible root of virtue which will never be wasted, as it says in the Avatamsaka Sutra. Through seeing, hearing, and making offerings to those Buddhas, a measureless mass of merit will grow until all the kileshas and suffering of samsara are discarded. This compounded merit will not be exhausted. Whatever prayers of aspiration are made in front of him, they will be fulfilled, as is mentioned in the Manjushri Kshetra Vyuha, the teachings on the qualities of the Buddha field of Manjushri. All phenomena arise from circumstances and depend on the intention. Whatever prayers a person makes, they will accordingly obtain the fruit. Developing firm confidence in the truth of these teachings, recite the following. So before we do that, I just want to try to make some other adjustments, maybe strengthen my signal a little bit here. Let's see. It's the best I can do. Hopefully it holds. All right. Yeah, so this one we do also once in English, once in Tibetan. So I can't remember if I said this line, so I'll say it again. Developing firm confidence from the truth of these teachings, recite the following. Out of great compassion, you took care of this world of degeneration and strife and made 500 great prayers of aspiration. You are praised as a white lotus. Whoever hears your name will not return to samsara. Compassionate teacher, I submit obeisance to you. The wealth and accumulation of merit of body, speech, and mind of myself and others I offer, visualizing them as the Samantabhadra cloud of offerings. All the negative actions and downfalls I have accumulated since beginning this time, without exception, I confess each one with strong, heartfelt regret. I rejoice at the merit accumulated in the past, present, and future by the exalted beings and by ordinary beings. The wheel of Dharma, the profound and vast teachings, I request you to turn uninterruptedly in the 10 directions. Although your wisdom body, like the sky, remains without changing throughout the 3 times, according to the perception of beings, you demonstrate birth and death, yet may you appear in the Nirmanakaya form forever. Through the merits I accumulate in the past, present, and future, in order to benefit all beings throughout all space, may I constantly gladden the King of Dharma and attain the level of conqueror, Lord of Dharma. Through your kindness, compassionately caring especially for us unprotected beings of the degenerate age, Whatever appearance there is of the three jewels in this world at this time is your enlightened activity. You are the only incomparable and sublime refuge. As I pray to you from my heart with total confidence, do not forget the great promise you made in the past. Care for us with compassion until we attain enlightenment. Now we go back for the Tibetan. Ning she chen pe zu dan, ni mei xin zu nei mun mang, chen bo ma ya ta, e ga zhang na zen zhi, xie mi du chen pa chu chen. 真拉长三路，大山古松给龙池一滚三尺北，真的米内的都没内萨地君马。ni ne kya pa ra pa so so sha pa dan so se ke wa ke wa i de sun sa ta te su yi ra Sam chi ya che chu yi ko tsu chou chu yun mi se pa kong du san ni ta be ye shi ku du sun po gya me pa shu me ki zhi chen na lo ji ji ci zhen xiang shi pei su pu da du nan wa shi da yi du sun sa pei ge cu ki ka kiao zhou wa kun la pen du zui gi giao po ta du ye che chi che je ga wei gong pa zhou pa shou da cha ni me zhou wa gen me no zu che la pa su e kan ri li si dang de de ren chen nan su ki na wa chi ne te ki chen li Dei jian kian zhou cu nei si pu ru yi che te pe ni ne so dem non ne gi dan cha sen po mang nian wang Chan Chu Pa Du Tu Je Je Xin Se. And concentrate one pointedly on the form of the Buddha, thinking that he is actually there, and recite as much as possible the following. So this one, once in English, twice in Tibetan. Guru, teacher, Bhagavat, Tathagata, Arhat, perfect Buddha, glorious conqueror, Shakyamuni, I submit obeisance to you, I make offerings, I take refuge. Lama Chumpa Chumdende Deshi Chepa Dra Chumpayan Tapa Sope Sange Giwa Shakya Chupala Chasalu Tuda Kyapsu Chiyo Lama Chumpa Chumdende Deshi Shibadra Chumbayan Dapa Sope Sange Gewa Shakya Chubala Chaksalo Sudo Kyamsu Chi. Now we read the English above the mantra and the first sentence below the mantra. Next, recite as many times as is appropriate this Dharani mentioned in the abridged Prajnaparamita as being the way to invoke the mind of the Buddha. Then recite as much as possible the same Dharani beginning from Om. During all this, concentrate one pointedly on the visualization with devotion, remembering the qualities of the Buddha. So what we're saying is we're going to say this mantra 3 times, beginning with Teyata, and then we drop the Teyata and we say 3 times out loud, beginning with Om, and then we finish the Mala quietly. Teyata Om Muni Muni Maha Munaye Soham. Teyata Om Muni Muni Maha Munaye Soham. Teyata Om Muni Muni Mahamunaye Soha. 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 Om Muni Muni Soha. Somebody went around here, so many and we read this English, and then this section here we do once in English, once in Tibetan. And consider that through the power of reciting the names of the Buddha and reciting the Dharani, from the body of the Buddha shines a great light of multicolored rays of wisdom light, dispelling all the obscurations of myself and all beings, perfecting the qualities of the Mahayana path and establishing us on the level of non-returner. Tempe kule sheki asana sope na wachimpa tatan samchan tamcheki dripa tanshe seshin heba chimpo ramki yunten sushin tu kete chimi do besa nun pa gyua. Please turn to page L7 if you have the text. Say last 4 lines, once in English, once in Tibetan, the model offering. Ground is purified with scented water and strewn with flowers. It is adorned by Sumeru, the 4 continents, and the sun and moon. Thinking of it as the blessed Buddha field, we offer it. May all beings enjoy the happiness of the perfectly pure Buddha fields. Idam Ratna Mandala Kamniratayami. Sa shi buki jushi me to tram drirapni shi ninde gampati. Sange shi tu mi de Hawaii. Droga namda shi na chepasho. Idam Ratna Mandala Kamniratayami. Now turn to page L9, say the dedication, again, once in English, once in Tibetan. The miraculous display of the unsurpassable wisdom appears as the intentions, deeds, prayers, knowledge, love, and ability of all the Sugatas and their offspring. May all beings become exactly like them. Lishe seche klinki dike dan se palmo nam kense nupeso. Lame yeshe gudru chitrawa chitra kuna trukungwa shon. And now we're going to say the closing prayers, which again, link for that is in the description box below. But for now, I will share them with you. These are the long life prayers of our precious teacher. It goes Dalai Lama, and then the one below it, and then the one to the right, and the one below that. We are going to do these once in English, once in Tibetan. In the celestial realm encircled by snow peaks, you are the source of every happiness and benefit. Tenzin Gyatso Avalokiteshvara himself. May your lotus feet remain firm for 100 eons. Sanri Wawe Kowe Shinpam Su Bandande Wa Malu Chuene. Senesi Wan Tenzin Gyatso Yi. Sapega Gaba Tu Chenga Shik. Om Swasti, in the vast expanse of your fearless wisdom, shine the 100,000 cooling light rays of your all-pervading great love, dispelling the anguish of beings in this degenerate age. O supreme jewel of space, region of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, remain with us continuously, we pray. Om Swasti Jigme Kempe Kano Yampa Rupa Gapse Chen Suse Puntawa. Ito Dansanam Kena Bucho Seche Gawe Shakita Suso. Swasti, through dependent causation and the blessings of the infinity of long life deities, may Pema Wangel, prophesied magical emanation of the Toklin Sechel, be firm in body, speech, and mind like the king of the sounding drum, Amitabha, and may the great waves of his wishes for the teachings and beings spread out to their ultimate extent. Om Swasti Sela Gyamso Jema Tinjun Reno Zinda Se Gutru Pema Samsun Nadre Gyapo Chaten Nela Chanten De Shekten Tage Sho. We pray for the good health of the lamas. We pray for their precious lives to be long. We pray for their activities to spread and increase. May you be blessed, never depart from them. Lama Kugan Sampo Soa Dek Chatu Kusei Ringwa Soa Dek Chine Dashin Gepa Soa Dek Lama Dandre Wa Me Pa Chingi Ro. Now here we say the first prayer once in English, once the remaining prayers. We close with the 100-syllable mantra. By this merit may obtain omniscience, may defeat the enemy wrongdoing. From the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of cyclic existence, may I free all beings. Sonandi tamche sipani tokne ne pedranam tamche shing. Kegana chi balon tupai sibetsa le doa doa sho. May bodhicitta, precious and sublime, arise where it has not yet come to be, and where it has arisen, may it never fail, but grow and flourish ever more and more. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may it to remain and dispel the miseries of the world. Ever absorbed in the display of divine forms and primordial awareness, appearance, sound, and perception in the state of divinity's mantras and Dharmakaya. May I, inseparable from the practice of the profound and secret great yoga, attain within the essence of mind the state of one taste. Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajra Sattva Tenupa Tishtadrito Me Bhava Sutokayo Me Bhava Sutokayo Me Bhava Anurato Me Bhava Soasidi Me Prayatsa Soapama Sutsame Chetam Shriyam Puruhum Haha Haha Ho Bhagavan Savatata Gata Vajrana Memun Savajripa Maha Samaya Sattva Om. Okay, so thank you so much for joining us this morning. Before we go, I just have a couple of announcements to make. We do this sadhana 3 times a month. It varies because it's according to the lunar calendar. So, like today's a new moon, so it's new moon, rising, half moon, and full moon. Um, whenever we do on a Saturday, it's always going to be YouTube only because we do meditation just before. But all the other days, it's Zoom only. Okay. And you can find all that information again following the links below. The next sadhana we have is Sunday, August 31st at 11:30 in the morning. That will be on Zoom. We will be starting new classes in September. Um, I will get a newsletter out eventually about that. So please keep your eye on that. If you haven't signed up for it, again, links below to sign up. Um, uh, we could also really use donations. So, you know, and people might think we don't have bills because we don't have a physical space, but we definitely still have bills. We have to pay for the website and, a lot of other kind of operating expenses. But you're very welcome, Eileen. So please, if you can, um, make a one-time donation, or best is to become a member, and that's just an automatic thing. You won't even notice it. Even $5 or $10. Well, I don't think we have a $5 level anymore, but anyway, even $10 a month would really be so helpful to us, so we can continue offering the Dharma to you. So stay tuned for fall programs, and once again, thank you so much, and have a great weekend. Bye, everybody.